story of India's high airfares that are pinching the middle class and making flying unaffordable has now become a political issue. For the last few days, the Congress has been attacking the government over high airfares, while the Minister for Civil Aviation has been pointing out the lack of work on the sector in the UPA era. But even as Netas bicker, the suffering continues. In fact, a report by US-based Airports Council International has ratified what we have been reporting, that India's airfare jump post-pandemic has been the highest in the Asia-Pacific region at 41%. The report also says that air traffic post-COVID has recovered at the fastest pace in India, and there has been an alarming increase in international airfares by up to 50%. In an important observation, the report says airlines are capitalizing on low competition and pent-up demand to recover pandemic losses. To put it into perspective, the pinch that middle-class Indians are feeling, take a look at how the hike in airfares compares to other countries in the region as per this ACR report. Now, while India has seen a hike of about 41%, the UAE has seen a 34% rise. Singapore is at 30% and Australia at 23%. Question here is, can the average Indian afford the same hikes as someone in UAE, Singapore or Australia? And in fact, the hikes in India are much, much higher. Meanwhile, let's take a look at what's actually happened with the airfares. We've been tracking 6 routes consistently since the 8th of June to get a perspective on whether fares are really cooling off. The claim is that they have, but has the reduction been in any significant manner? Let's first take a look at the routes that were affected by Go First closing down or suspending flights. That was on the 3rd of May. And this was where the real pinch was seen. So let's see what's happened there. Now, the prices for a Delhi late ticket, as you can see on your screens, which was regular around 4,700, shot up as much as 27,000 nearly. On the 8th of June was 22,366, and on the 13th of June is a little under 10,000. So it has dropped. It's almost a 57 drop. That's the biggest drop across all routes. But is it one that comes back to what a regular fare should be? Because if you look at 13th of July, it's back up at 15,000 rupees odd for a ticket. Another popular holiday route, which was the Go First Impact route, I would say, was Delhi-Srinagar, which has seen a drop between the 8th of June and the 13th of June by about 5,000 rupees odd. It's about 13,171. Look at what the regular price is. It's a little more than 4,000 rupees. So is it enough? Chandigarh, Srinagar, again, there has been a drop from a high of over 27,500 rupees to a little less than 18,000 rupees. So if you book a ticket tomorrow, you will pay less than last week. But is 18,000 rupees really a fair kind of a drop? Is it enough compared to a regular price of 4,000 rupees is the question we should ask. Likewise, for Delhi Bagdogra, actually no real kind of relief there. If I compare from the 8th of June, it's still hovering around 23,000 rupees odd for a ticket which used to be about 4,200 rupees. Let's look at the busy routes. Let's look at the Mumbai, Delhi's, etc., and see if they have seen a drop. Now, while the Delhi-Mumbai route has witnessed a slight decrease, I mean, I don't even know if it's a decrease. It's gone from 19,762 rupees on 8th of June to 19,129 rupees. So that's what's happening in Mumbai, Delhi, Delhi-Mumbai actually. And in Bengaluru, Delhi, the fare from 8th of June compared to 13th of June has gone down from about 17,000 rupees to 14,000 rupees odd. Is that okay for Bengaluru to Delhi? Is that fair? If it's as much as what an international flight one way could cost you, is then a question that we must continue to ask. So to speak on all of this, I am joined today by Devesh Agarwal, Chief Analyst at BangaloreAviation.com. Sarosh Damania, aviation lawyer, comes back and speaks with us today. Sujata Paul, spokesperson of the Congress, on the show. And I'm also speaking today with R.S. Patania, BJP leader. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for joining us on this campaign that we have been tracking consistently and data-backed. on this show and on the channel. Let me begin with you, Mr. Devesh Agarwal, and what this ACI report has said. I think it has, I suppose, underlined what we've been discussing. And the reasons also written in this report talk about what we have been discussing. The fact that high demand is one of the factors that have been pushing up airfares, but it is the highest in this region.
Look, there is no doubt, Tamanna. The Indian economy is one of the strongest in the world in terms of growth rates. I think we are exceeding China. We are, outstripping the West by large measure. And it is a known fact that air traffic rises typically at a rate of 2 times the GDP growth rate. So you are seeing that, number one. Number two, you are seeing a lot of what I would call as revenge travel. People basically for 2 years were essentially kind of locked into their homes. And now all of a sudden, it's freedom. People can travel. People are going everywhere. And you're seeing this. It's not just in airfares. It is in hotel fares. It is in restaurants. Ask the people who conduct, what do we call the MICE segment, the conferences and all that. If last year the hotels were willing to say, do a dinner for you at say 3,000 rupees a plate, today they want nothing less than say 4,000. It's purely an issue of supply and demand. Getting low airfares, is just a matter of being a little careful and doing a searching. I mean, you're mentioning Bangalore, Delhi. Tomorrow, fares are like at 5,700 rupees. You can easily get them. It's not that one just has to be a little careful in search, but you'll definitely get, good values and good bargains.
And we're just imagining it. 1 minute. Are you saying there's no problem and we're just imagining it?
No, ma'am, I never said that. I'm saying that there are ways to get good fares. I'm not saying that there aren't expensive fares, but you are, again, as I said, I go back to my favorite colored airline and I'm looking at fares, okay, except the fact is that the flights leave at 4:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, and, 4:45 in the afternoon, 11:15 at night, where one is willing to travel a little bit here and there. Yeah. You're getting good fares.
So I think, we should not get caught up in the minutiae. I get your point. Maybe if you stand on one leg and fly, then maybe you'll,
No, Tamanna, that is also being a bit unfair.
The fact is there's an inherent problem right now. There is an inherent situation. And if you go into the details of that report, let me bring in Sarosh Damania here. If you go into the details of that report, it lists as one of its reasons that airlines, in the face of a lack of competition, are making up for their losses during the pandemic. That's what this report says. So, and fares have increased. Revenge travel is something which is happening the world over. Fares have increased by 41%, highest in the Asia-Pacific region. So, we're not going into a blame game right now, but the fact is you need to first recognize as an issue if you want to fix it. Yes, Sarosh Damania.
Of course, the report is also out, and of course, market-wise, statistically, India is doing pretty well. The aviation market after the COVID has seen the biggest boom ever. So, of course, the airlines here are earning drastic profit. Of course, if the flights are going full, if there is travel, if people want to travel more, so there is a boom. But as, of course, we've discussed earlier, so the price rise, which today what we are seeing here today is for the first time, it is a unjustified price rise. Of course, there might be market demand. There is one of the factor being Go Air shutting down, little less competition being there. But these airlines are putting on more routes. Their DGCA is allowing more slots of Bombay-Delhi routes, which were for Go Air, have been given to other airlines. So there are slots and routes which have been given to them. And the flights are almost full. It is not that the fares are higher and flights are not going empty. So the passengers have to pay more. Passengers are paying more because they have no other choice. So the passenger is in the end between the government regulating the sector and the airlines wanted to make their, of course, there has to be, of course, COVID phase was there. You made loss. It's all right. At that point of time, also government also supported the airlines by putting a minimum fare cap and a maximum fare cap. So at that point of time during COVID, airlines were also protected and the passengers were also protected. Now today, what we are seeing is that the DGCA or the civil ministry is doing nothing to protect the passengers who are being exploited by this unjustified
So
rise
what
in
do you
fares.
think the DGCA should do? What do you think that when you're saying that they're doing nothing, so let's get down to brass tacks. What do you think the DGCA should do? Because the minister, for example, in a series of tweets has talked about everything that has been done so far. So go first, some of their routes have been given to other airlines. Conversations are on with airlines. He says there's been between a 14 to 60% drop. We showed you where that 60% drop was. We've charted it for you. It was on the Delhi-Leh route. But is that enough? What more would you like to see and what should be done, Sarosh Damania? Let's be specific.
There is Twitter coming out on Twitter, making statements, giving press statements. There is something more than there is no circular or there is nothing as of concrete as a circular come out from the aviation ministry. If there is something they feel that they have told the airlines and the airlines have agreed to do this, let there be an official document come out. By why is there no circular or why is there not official press release that has been released by the aviation ministry stating that yes, these are the 1, 2, 3, 4 things which you have done. Of course, some of the points being that the slots being allotted to other airlines, that was an obvious choice. That is, airlines are in the midst of the issue. The airlines are benefiting from it. What is the benefit to the passengers if they have got more routes, they've got more slots? Why are we not seeing any benefit which is handed over to the passenger? Right now, as my fellow one pointed out, if you want to book a cheaper flight, you can take a morning 4 o'clock flight or bleak times at night. But why not the regular timings? Why not all the flights have a reasonable
I'm going to
price?
get Devesh to respond to that. I'm going to get Devesh to respond to that before I move to the other panelists. Devesh, the thing is, right now it seems to be high demand, ATF is high, what can we do about it? Hum kya kare, economy is good, just deal with it. But should it be the situation where passengers just deal with it, or do we need to take a close, hard and very honest look at what's going on?
There are multiple factors, Tamanna. I fully agree. In fact, Damania sir made 1 or 2 very important points. If you recall, I told you there is a concept called the passenger charter. In that passenger charter, it says if an airline cancels a flight, they are liable to pay so much. But nowhere in that charter, it says the airline shall make payment. I think it says it should do it within 7 days. But if the airline doesn't do it, there is no penalty. There is nothing. You and I delay paying our taxes, will get hauled off to jail. An airline delays paying a government mandated compensation. There is absolutely nothing written in that charter that this is going to be the impact on you. Last time also I told you, it is like trying to pick up water through a chhanni. Okay, we don't have an independent DGCA. I noticed you have guests from both the political parties. In 2014, the independent CAA, Civil Aviation Authority bill, was presented and approved in the cabinet. Since then, it has never been brought to the parliament, either by at that time the UPA government, nor the subsequent NDA governments. It has just been lying. In the meantime, in that same period, in that same thing where the Rashtriya Udan Academy was supposed to be either set up or expanded, has already been set up. It's already started graduating student pilots for many, many years. But this has not happened. So it, in a way, shows a bit of, misguided priorities. The government has to, I am very firmly against government control.
Okay. Sujata Paul, I want to come to you on that. Yeah, and I think that's an important point because the Congress has picked up the issue politically, but you are saying, why did you let go of the price caps? Do you think it makes sense for government to come in and tell the airline industry how to price their service? Is that really what we want? I think you're on mute, ma'am. I can't hear you. I think you're on mute, ma'am. All right, we'll need to come back to you. We'll need to fix that and come back to you because we can't hear you at this point. Mr. Patania, let me come to you. A big,
Yes.
back and forth has started over this, mostly on Twitter right now, and the thrust of the matter seems to be we are doing everything we could do. We are doing everything we could do, and what did the UPA do? Now, what did the UPA do is not something we can evoke each and every time, and including for airfares, which have gone up right now. The context is post-pandemic.
Tamanna, one uncontroverted fact remains that unexcusable and just out of a thin air increase in the airfares has been a problem we have been trying to fix with. And another aspect of the matter remains that airports, they are a deregulated sector as yet. And the ministry has made up its mind. I find an echo with Mr. Devesh also that it's not a case that immediately that airfare should be regulated, but the government has red flagged the issue. The more we have tried to tame the tiger, I'll use the word, we have tried to take the bull by the horn, the more opposition is trying to politicize the issue and try to make the cat get out of the bag. First time, any responsible government, let's not speak about Bharatiya Janta Party, Jyotiraditya Scindia, one for the first time in the history that a sincere effort has been made and all the airlines have been asked to regulate their airfares. And the result is that there is a 14 to 60% downswing in the prices of the airfares. Another aspect of the matter remains that there's COVID, that there's summer season, then there's Odisha tragedy also, that immediately there's a very increased demand. My other friend was also saying that the economy has also surged. So due to the surge in the economy, summer season,
One minute.
Odisha,
Mr. Patania, can I come in and ask you
please,
something?
please,
You're saying the minister has told airlines to reduce
Absolutely.
prices, but under what rule and why?
You see,
If the position today, and I've gone through that tweet thread, and the minister rightly says it's not the government's job to interfere in the aviation sector, so then why are you doing it?
Tamanna, there has to be a legal mechanism. There has to be a political consensus on it. But given the state of the things which are in the control of the government, DGCA is the nodal authority, the Ministry of Civil Aviation controls it, but they cannot regulate the prices. The matter has landed in the honorable courts also, and honorable courts have also not been able to put their weight behind the regulation of air prices. But in all sincerity and in all commitment towards the people, towards the Aam Aadmi, towards the Janmanas of Bharat, the Ministry of Civil Aviation has acted, it has risen to the occasion, and it has delivered results also. Let me again read swing of air prices ranging from 14 to 60%.
I have picked up all the air prices. One minute.
Let us see. Let us see.
Sir, I have been tracking these air prices on a daily basis. And I'm going to pull them up. Sujata Paul, can you hear me now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I have pulled up the air prices and to track exactly what is this 14 to 60%. And we've picked in two compartments. We've picked all the go first routes. And I want to make it very clear to our viewers what we're doing. Why have we picked the Go First routes? These were routes where Go First had a huge market share, which is why you saw the most impact. And prices have dropped, but by how much? The most is in Delhi-Leh. That 60% is in Delhi-Leh. After 60% drop, it's 10,000 rupees one way. Is that good enough is the question. Sujata Paul, my question to you is, what exactly do you want them to do? Surely you don't want them to come in and start fixing prices for airlines.
If you remember, the Prime Minister had said, Hawai chappal wale ab Hawai yatra karenge. Did the Prime Minister say that we will not be responsible to the consumers? Is that what the government is now trying to say, or the BJP spokespersons are trying to say? Go First insolvency has just been used to pass the buck, and that's a fact. Because on the one hand, you have the Civil Aviation Minister, Mr. Scindia, talking about talking to these companies. And he's also, in that meeting that he had on 6th June, he also said that they've requested the airline companies to decrease the airfares. Well, if this is not about, talking to them about decreasing, what is it? Deregulating them is not what we are talking about regulating them. So when we talk about regulating, why I'm saying this is that this is a public carrier that we are talking about, the airlines. So when you have
it's not a ma'am, 1 minute, ma'am. Just to clarify what you're saying, there is no public carrier in India anymore.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Please.
So if there are public transport systems, then you regulate them. But here, there is a minister who has no public carrier to speak about. Yet he talks about asking the various airline companies to bring down the prices. Why is he saying that? That means the government is also trying to get the prices down because they are under pressure from the consumers, from the opposition, because it is a matter of great concern. So why is there an aviation minister if there is no public carrier and he has no work in hand? However, let me also mention to you about the 20th August 2013 Civil Aviation Authority of India bill. Yes, we got that bill. But within a few months, the model code of conduct was in place, and that's why we couldn't take this further. But is it not the responsibility of a government which does not belong to a particular party and so it will work on a particular agenda, but to take the work of the previous government forward if it helps the consumer?
They did.
Did they do it?
You know
You
how
didn't
they,
do anything,
you know,
madam.
one minute, Mr.
You
didn't
Madhania
do
will
anything,
respond.
madam.
But you know how they took the
Don't
work
speak
of
in
the
between.
previous government forward by
That's it.
privatizing Air India. This was something that previous governments have been trying to do. Everyone agrees it was an important thing to do. So
That's
we
it.
don't need a
I
public
am
carrier.
talking
Okay.
about, no, I'm talking about the bill. I'm talking about
Yeah.
the bill. Mr. Agarwal
Mr.
was
Pal,
talking about the
Mr.
bill.
Okay, yes.
My respectful, my respectful
These are two
submission,
different things.
Tamanna, we need to be sincere and we need to be clear. We need to be categorical. So we need not to be beat just about the bush here. My respectful submission that there's a government and there's a minister who's virtually seized of the issue, who's virtually wants to click the issue.
Why are
And
you so
if at a
confused?
later point of time it comes to I shouldn't say only
No.
the government and the minister, it comes to the view of the entire political establishment, to the civil society, that we
You
should
are
regulate it,
confused.
that we should
The
take over it.
minister-
We should.
No,
That's not
you
the
are
case.
confused.
That's not just the
You are
minister has
confused because
absolutely
the
not,
minister
madam.
is sending
Absolutely
out
not,
a
madam.
stern
My respectful
warning.
submission.
One
He
minute,
is-
I have
one
said.
no,
minute,
he's
one
sending out a
minute.
That's
stern
it.
Sujata,
That
Paul,
warning.
let him,
stern warning.
And then
please,
you're saying that the
please let
minister
him,
is not responsible.
Madam Sujata,
What are
madam,
you
please
saying?
let
this is
him
not the
finish
way.
his point of view,
This is not
and
the
then
way,
you can
madam.
respond.
Please,
Yes.
please. My respectful submission is that this stern warning has somehow yielded the results. I say there's a downswing of 14 to 16% of the airfares. Oh, if another measures, they may be legal, they may be legislative, they may be parliamentary, they may be all party political consensus on it. We will also come to unfold at the ministry. The government needs to unfold it. But at present, let's be very honest, let's be very clear, let's be very categoric that the limited, though we don't have the control of the airfield, but the stern warning and the humble request of the minister,
What
the
is the
airlines, it
point
has
of having
yielded
a
results.
minister then?
And I'm hopeful.
What is
I'm hopeful this will click in.
No.
We
Explain to
cannot
me.
kill
Please
it.
don't
We cannot
let
kill
it not be a
discussion.
one-way traffic.
Please.
Let it not be a one-way traffic. I want to understand why is
Please.
there a civil aviation minister, and are you going to
Yes.
be disrespectful of your greatest leader and the country's prime minister, yours and my prime minister, who said that हवाई चप्पल वाले भी हवाई सफर करेंगे, यहाँ तो middle class वाले भी आप हवाई सफर नहीं कर पा रहे, so what is happening over here? That means you're running away. No, I'm not confusing anything. You have to answer that. Did the prime minister say this or no? Is it not your job to ensure?
Okay, one minute.
One minute.
To you, madam.
Is it not your
I opened up my
responsibility to
argument.
ensure?
Okay, 1 minute. 14 to 60% right now is not enough if airfares go up to 300%.
I accept it.
Up to 300% at one go. It's like one of those sales. You know, आप कभी-कभी फर्जी sales नहीं होते हैं जिसमें आप पहले दाम 3 गुना बढ़ा देते हैं और फिर कहते हैं देखिए आपको 15% डिस्काउंट मिल गया. So
I accept it.
So it's too high. It's too high. There is a problem. There is a confluence of factors. Now, number one, could we have not seen it coming? Number two, it's been over a month since Go First has not been able to fly. They're consistently going on, extending their suspension. That's another bone to pick because God knows what's happening to people who have bought those tickets. They are not going to get that money back because it's in the NCLT. That's how the system is. Devesh Agarwal, isn't this the point you were making? That a clear passengers charter would have protected people right now. Also from anti-competitive practices.
Basically, this is exactly what I'm trying to say, that the passenger charter has essentially been written by the airlines. It is just to show, yes, we have a passenger charter, which is supposed to protect the rights of the passenger. I'm very sure Mr. Damania will probably agree with me. There is no teeth in that passenger charter. If you look at, there is an equivalent law in the European Union called EU, I think EU 261. And it very clearly, it says if you delay a flight by more than 6 hours, you will pay 600 euros, and it is your responsibility to get the passenger to the destination by whatever means the passenger chooses. That means it's not that you can turn around and tell the passenger, I will send you on some flight of mine 3 days hence. No, the next available flight that is available, it is your job to put that passenger onto that flight. It is applicable to all European carriers. It is applicable to all flights that take off from the European Union. It is a clear law. And guess what? Whether it is an Air India, whether it's an Emirates, whether it's an American Airlines, whether it's a Japan Airlines, or whether it's a Lufthansa, British Airways,
So
or any other European
our
carrier,
version
they
of
all
this?
follow the rules.
Where is
They
our
are
version
bound.
of this which protects Indian passengers?
That is my question. That passenger charter is full of holes.
You know, Sarosh Damania, right now, this conversation's become about your government, you don't care. The fact is, systemically, we have an aviation industry which has been booming, increasing leaps and bounds. But do we have the safeguards necessary to avoid a situation like this? No one's asking that question today. Yes,
That's what
Sarosh,
I'm saying.
Sarosh Damania. Sarosh Damania, yeah.
Yeah, regarding the systematic affair now between the passengers and the government and the airlines, their government has set up a civil aviation ministry that is for the benefit of the passengers. The main goal of the ministry being there is to safeguard passenger rights and safeguard the passengers. But as of course, my fellow panelist also said, there is something called a passenger charter, which is there, which is supposedly to protect the rights of the passengers. But if, of course, the passenger charter which has come out with, it's a pretty new document, but the penalties or the provisions in it are just picked up from the civil aviation requirement and are pasted over there. So that is not a new document or something which they have come up with. So it is the old laws which were there. They have only picked up some laws which look friendly to the passengers and have put them in a booklet, a colored booklet, to show the passenger you are entitled to this, that. But those entitlements was always there. And of course, this was one of the consumer initiatives which the civil ministry has taken, aviation ministry. But today, where the time has come where the fares are skyrocketing, the industry is doing well, the airlines are profiting over it. So why is the passenger being exploited? Of course, only mere talks and talking to the airlines that you reduce the price, or this is just sensitization. This is just the ministry's reaction to the public uproar and to the media pressure and to the people discussing that what is the ministry doing. So there has to be something concrete that has to be done. Passengers have to be safeguarded. Of course, it is a free economy. Their DGCA might not have the ability to control the
and they shouldn't. Honestly, even as we've been tracking this, I don't think anyone wants the government to start coming in and dictating, your Mumbai-Delhi flight should be this much. Because then you might as well have run your own airline, which you did for years with massive losses borne by taxpayer money. So we don't want that. So Jata Paul, what is the constructive solution over here that the opposition is offering?
The first thing is that the aviation ministry needs to come out, and I'm appalled that Mr. Damania has just mentioned that there's no written circular. A circular which has been typed and sent out. There is no documentation. First step is that there should be documentation of everything that the government does. So the fact remains that it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that consumer rights are protected. Now, you take this example: if somebody has to go from Delhi to, let's say, Kochi suddenly, what will happen? If there is a sudden requirement in his family, there's a death in the family or a marriage in the family, what will he do? Is the government going to be responsible to consumers being a social, a welfare state? We must remember that no matter we might be talking about airlines, it is the government's responsibility to protect consumer rights, and for that, first thing should be documentation and actual conversation with the airlines, so that this entire issue can be resolved. It is the government's responsibility opportunity, and I'm hoping that the Aviation Ministry is going to do that, and Mr. Sindhya is going to take a look at it seriously rather than blaming previous governments, because it's not about what happened
Mr.
in the past,
Patania,
but what is happening today.
your response. Yes, fares have cooled off ever so slightly. Like I said, we've taken 6 routes, we've been tracking them. We've been tracking them consistently. Since actually some of them we've been tracking since December 2022. So we have a proper base for this to assess. And it's made a little bit of a difference, not enough, sir. In some cases, 200 rupees ka fark hai. Yes, I can't hear you, Mr. Patania.
Tamanna, we need to go further. The more we are trying to fix it up, the more Congress is out and out to play politics over. But this is too sensitive an issue, the consumer rights and protecting the people to play politics over. You see,
You are playing
these are all
politics,
market.
you're not answering.
These are all market-related bottlenecks.
Mr.
Patania, is it not a fact
Mr.
that we have doubled the number of airports? Is it not a fact? Is it not the fact?
When you can't control
please allow me to speak, madam. Allow me to speak.
Is it not a fact?
Let him respond, Miss Paul. Let him respond. Let him respond.
Is it not a fact that we have, is it not that we have almost doubled the number of airports? Is it not a fact that we have almost doubled and quadrupled the number of air flights and the number of uncovered areas they have been reduced now? So this is all.
So the airfares are going to increase.
In our sincerity and in our honesty, just to fix up the supply demand bottlenecks, there are market related issues, madam. We are trying to fix it up. The more we are trying to fix it up, the more we are trying to fix it up, the more you want to play politics.
1 minute.
Because you are playing politics.
1 minute. You know, the fact is, I'm sorry to say, but the fact is BJP and Congress fighting on this screen is not helping someone who has to travel tomorrow in an emergency. It's not helping anyone. It's not helping the person who has to travel in an emergency tomorrow and will have to pay close to 20,000 rupees for a Delhi-Bombay flight. And that's one of the busiest routes. So it's not helping. We need to find a solution. We want to be solution-oriented, and we need to find a solution quick. Till then, we're keeping an eye on the story. We're not going to let go. We're keeping an eye on the story. I want to thank all of you for joining us. I want to thank all of you for joining us on our lead story this evening. I'm taking a very short break. When we come back, everyone's talking about the cyclone, severe cyclonic storm. Biparjoy is headed towards Gujarat. It's expected to make a landfall under 72 hours. We get you all the latest after the break.